one of the things I think that's really an unseen enemy that is destroying, I think, a lot of our future as a church today would be this thing of the present. And what I mean by that is we're not leading with the future in mind. I think I've said this, we should not let the upkeep of our church right now distract us from advancing the kingdom of God. I think the upkeep, we're so busy, all of us, and I'm sure, and I understand pastors are real busy doing all this recording and kind of doing all these meetings to connect with their people and make sure everyone's connected, and that at the end of the day, the upkeep, we're so busy keeping the church going, which is necessary, I understand, but maybe we've become so focused on that, we've distracted from actually the mandate of heaven, which is to advance the kingdom of God. And so it's a subtle thing. And I'm not saying we should stop keeping the upkeep, but the upkeep's not the focus in this season. If we're allowing the present to determine the future, then I think we're in serious trouble. We've got to keep on asking the question, how are we leading people through this? Are we focusing on where we're going rather than what we're stuck in right now? And I'm sure you can sense that too. We're all busy. I'm not saying don't be busy, but are you keeping your church going, or are you advancing the kingdom?
Right.
And I think those are good questions. Our job is to build into people, not just to look after people, not spoon feed them, not just help them get through this. We're building into people so we can be strengthened now. Discipling should be taking place. I think even in this lockdown, even if we're coming out of it soon, and even what that looks like. But a lot of people are, I chat to pastors all the time, and they're like, yeah, well, we're having our kind of main gathering where we're videoing or recording, all going live, and we know a lot of people are watching, and I'm like, that's great. Then they're saying we're also trying to pray together, which is awesome, watching everyone pray on Zoom and that, which I think is great. It seems like prayers come back. Where it was missing, now suddenly we realize actually we do need God.
I agree.
Which is tragic that these things bring us back to realizing that let's not forget that we need to pray as the church, which is great. And then other guys are saying, so we're having a kind of our main gathering where we record and put it out there. We're having our prayer meetings, which is great. And then we are having our staff or our team meetings or our leaders meetings, and kind of that's it. And to me, that's good, but that's upkeep. There's no advancing. Somewhere we should be looking at how we can, even with Zoom and all these other kind of social media kind of things we've been given to able to use tools to actually disciple people, to raise up leaders, to look in our local church and say, who are our future leaders or potential elders? We should be training them now. While in lockdown. People have time right now. They're stuck at home. They're watching Netflix and wasting their time. If they're not watching your stuff, they're watching someone else's. What a time to say, hey, you're at home. Let's on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, get 10 of us and sit on Zoom and let's invest in each other, disciple each other. Be creative in this time because we're not allowing the present to determine our future. We're leading with the future in mind, even in the present. So I think it's just being creative in those ways. Deacons and church planters and whatever else we feel like we should be coming out of with, we should not brave those people through. We should invest in them and disciple them. And I think that's somewhat of it means, I think, to lead with the future in mind. And that's what it means to be a prophetic people. We keep saying, see the future, prepare for the future, and become it. And I think it's a subtle thing that we're just waiting to come out of this. When we get out of it, we'll get back to the mandate. And I'm like, there's a mandate that hasn't changed. And we're going to just have to get creative in this, So
a question for you.
Yes.
I think one of the things that one of the enemies we're facing is it'd be real easy for a lot of people to see this as a vacation.
Right.
Or this as a much needed reprieve or rest.
Right.
Instead of saying, this is an opportunity
Right.
for the church to gain ground.
Absolutely.
And to represent Christ in a way that will be remembered when this pandemic is gone.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the practical ways you think that, okay, so maybe we've had a couple of weeks of rest, but now we need to lay hold of this opportunity and not miss this opportunity. We don't want to have regret at the end of this that we didn't grab a hold of what God was doing.
Yeah, sure.
So what do you...
Again, I'm not expert in any of this, I think, but it is a time, like you say, I don't think in history hoping we don't have another... I love the opportunity, but I'm hoping we don't have the crisis that we've had. But I think if we look back, it would be tragic to think, gee, we should have, we could have. I think we should look at what we wish if we had the opportunity to look back, what would we wish we gave ourselves to?
Yeah.
Well, we need to start doing that today.
Right.
Like, not because this time is coming when things will lift again, and then we're going to go, oh, we wasted our moments. I mean, again, I realize that many guys who are blessed to have their family at home, if they do live with their family, it's a great opportunity to invest in your family, honestly, and not just be a good dad, or actually see as this is discipling your sons and your daughters and getting involved in their world and raising them up and praying together and having meetings together. We're doing that in our house. I can't get on the road and that, so we're having that in our house, and I'm getting my sons to preach and lead worship, and we're praying together. I'm not trying to make it all spiritual, also enjoying just hanging out, but utilizing our time rather than just watching movies or kind of being busy, because I am working from home, although I'm not getting a real salary from it, but what I've been called to hasn't stopped, just I can't be on the road, so I've got to be a little more effective in how I go about it. But I think those are the things. Digging our wells. I mean, what a time to dig your wells and to fill yourself with what matters. Again, that's why I think you've got to be careful what you're watching, what you're reading. Don't just read books. Read stuff that's going to read the Word. I mean, how hard is that? But that's what we should be filling out. Preparing sermons, asking God to speak, building our marriages, working on our marriages, being creative in those kind of things, and also getting some revelation for where we're called to, what we're called to. So when we come out of this, we're not going to find what God's on about. I mean, one of the prophetic words that came is that we say chaos, God says convergence. I'm bringing things together. And his warning was, make sure you're watching what I'm doing in this time. And I think that's probably, for me, in downtime, is taking my eyes off what I'm doing, even if it's good stuff, God's stuff, looking at what God's doing and saying, we perhaps have made it about what we're doing. We need to get back. So I think it's a good time to ask God what He's doing, to go where God's going and to look at it. So we make sure we're getting things. It's a good time to adjust some of the stuff that we've been given our lives to, realizing actually what's the point of it. Not to question who we are, but seasons change. And with change of seasons, some things are over. And I think this is a good time for us to get rid of some of the over things so we can be far more effective. And again, there's an exhaustive list around that. I'm certainly not the hero in that, but I think there's some of the things I'm trying to do, and I'm hearing other guys being more connected rather than just presuming and praying, actually being intentional about relationships and pressing into people that I've longed to do that. Now I've got the time to do that, to just reach out and find out how they're doing. I guess just being more involved in what we're called to rather than hoping it's getting done. I think those are some of the things that we can give ourselves to now and look back and say, actually, those were worthwhile things, and I'm sure there are many others, But again, the point is the enemy, the silent enemy, is we allowing the present to determine the future. And I want to simply say we need to allow the future to determine the present, what we've given ourselves to. And I think too many guys are just waiting for us to get out of this. And I think